What is density? Density is a physical property of matter, as each element and compound has a unique density associated with it. Density, defined in a qualitative manner, as the measure of the relative heaviness of objects with a constant volume. Here are the steps on how to do the activity. Number 1. First, prepare a clear glass and place a water on it. Number 2. Next, you put the honey. Number 3. Also pour the oil. The three liquids will settle based on their densities and will make three separate layers. Number 4. Drop the bubble or any small metal into the substance. Number 5. Next, drop a piece of grape. Number 6. Third, drop the bottle cap. And number 7, lastly, add the sponge. You can see how they float in the different layers based on their densities. Here are some questions that might be bothering you regarding this activity.
What you have noticed when you mix those three liquid substances? We notice that those three liquid substances cannot bind together since they have different properties. The liquid layer according to their densities, from least dense to most dense, the liquid layer are oil, water, and honey. These three liquids do not mix easily, so when you shake the bottle, the liquids remain in layers. The solids will float on the liquid layer that is more dense than they are. All these items, including cube of sponge, cork, metal, and grape, each end up in one of the three layer substances. The cube of sponge is less dense than oil and floats on the oil, and the cork sinks on the oil. The metal is more dense than honey, so it sinks to the bottom of the glass. The grape should hover in the middle of the water. When you add the regular water to the sugar water stays in the bottom. The sugar water is more dense than the grape, which is why the grape floats in the sugar water.
Why does the honey is much more denser than the water and oil? Honey is much more denser than the water and oil because the particles of honey are tightly packed together with no space between the particles that cause it to be much more denser, and the density of the liquid is measured on how heavy it is compared to the water and oil.
Why does the sponge is more lightly weight than the grapes? The grape is heavier than the cube of sponge because most sponges are made from plastic, causing it to float on the surface of the oil.
Why are those three considered a heterogeneous mixture? Each of the liquids has a different density, which is a way to describe the substances based on much mass they have in a certain amount of space they take up, the volume. Honey is the most dense of the three liquids, so it sinks to the bottom. The water is the second denser liquid, being heavier than the oil and lighter than the honey. Since the oil is lighter, it is less dense than water and floats on water.
What happened if you pour first the honey before the water? Does the water will combine with the honey? If you pour the honey first before the water, The gravity of the water exerted caused the honey to break and destroy its viscosity and will slowly dissolve it from the water.
Consider that if you put a fruit on the seawater, why some will float and why some will sink. If fruits float, that means they have a lot of small air pockets inside them. If you put individual parts on seawater, like the peel and seeds of an apple, you see that some parts float, the peel, and some don't, the seeds. But when all the parts are put together, they do float.
What is the appearance of the oil and water when mixed together? When you mix oil with water, the two don't mix with each other because the water molecules attract each other and the oil molecules stick together. That causes oil and water to form two separate layers. Water molecules pack closer together so they sink to the bottom, leaving oil sitting on top of the water.